I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. My name's Jake, and I'm just your average guy in my 30s, married to a woman named Amanda. We met in college, fell in love over shared pizza and late-night study sessions, and built a life together. We had dreams, plans, and a decent little nest egg from our cryptocurrency investments. But something shifted over the past year, and I can't say I saw it coming, even when the signs were right in front of me. Amanda had always been a bit on the independent side, fiercely ambitious and career-driven, which I admired. But lately, she seemed more distant. Late nights at the office had become the norm. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was just her trying to get ahead in her career as a financial analyst. But then there were the late-night phone calls that I was apparently not supposed to notice. "Just a friend from work," she'd say, with her usual dismissive wave of the hand. I didn't think much of it until I found something that would change everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon when the discovery hit me like a freight train. I was working from home, going through some emails when I accidentally opened Amanda's laptop. She had left it unlocked, and curiosity got the best of me. Dropping my usual decorum, I snooped around. I didn't intend to invade her privacy, but the nagging feeling in my gut had pushed me to look. What I found wasn't just a few casual messages. It was an avalanche of information. There were texts between Amanda and our cryptocurrency investment partner, a slick guy named Eric. The messages were flirty, filled with inside jokes that made my stomach churn. My heart raced as I scrolled through them, losing track of time. They made plans to meet up not for business as I had thought, but for drinks. I was sick. I was furious, and I was confused. Who was this woman I married? The most damning evidence was a message that read, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Last time was so much fun. I wish Jake didn't have to find out." My blood ran cold. The betrayal pierced deeper than I thought possible. I felt both anger and a crushing sadness. My mind raced. How could she do this to me? How? Could she cheat with someone I trusted with our finances? The confrontation was inevitable. I waited for Amanda to come home, packing like a caged animal. When she finally walked through the door, I could see the exhaustion in her eyes, but it was overshadowed by a rush of adrenaline in me. I was angry, hurt, and just desperate to understand why. "Sit down, Amanda," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. When she did, I threw her phone onto the coffee table, the screen lighting up with the messages that felt like daggers pointed at my heart. "Care to explain this?" Her reaction was a mix of shock and anger. "Jake, what the hell? You snooped through my phone. That's an invasion of privacy." She was defensive, but I could see the cracks in her facade. I pressed on. "I didn't need to snoop. You essentially confessed through these texts. You're cheating on me with Eric." Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought I saw guilt flicker across her face, but she quickly masked it with outrage. "It's not what you think. We were just having fun. You know how stressful things have been at work. I thought you'd understand." I was taken aback by her audacity. Fun. This was betrayal, plain and simple. I felt a swell of emotions, anger, sadness, and an overwhelming sense of loss. It was as if the ground beneath me had crumbled and I was left standing in the ruins of what I thought was our marriage. As Amanda tried to shift the blame onto me, citing my work hours and how I was often absent, I couldn't help but feel the weight of betrayal crushing my chest. She wasn't even sorry. Her excuses danced around the truth, and all I wanted was for her to own up to what she had done. The anger surged through me like wildfire. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel even a fraction of what I was feeling. But instead, something more calculated began to form in my mind, a plan for revenge that would turn the tables completely. I needed to ensure that never again would I be blindsided by lies or deception, especially from someone I had trusted so deeply. The emotional storm inside me began to settle as my thoughts turned darker and more focused. I didn't just want her to regret her actions. I wanted to use this betrayal to build something new, a way to verify trustworthiness, something that could never be betrayed again. Little did Amanda know, I was already working on something that would turn the tech world on its head, the very idea that digital trust could evolve from personal betrayal. And so, the seeds of my revenge were planted. The confrontation left me reeling, But as I sat there, adrenaline coursing through my veins, a new resolve began to take shape. Amanda's betrayal wasn't just a personal attack. It was a wake-up call that I needed to change the way I approached trust, not just in my marriage but in every aspect of my life. I knew I had to find a way to harness this pain and turn it into something transformative. After she stormed out, hurling accusations of my invasion of privacy, I sat alone in our dimly lit living room, contemplating what had happened. I rummaged through my thoughts, replaying the moments we shared, the dreams we built, and the promises we made. She had shattered them all with a few text messages and a casual fling. I spent that night tossing and turning, unable to find solace. The betrayal consumed me, but in that tumultuous sea of emotion, a light flickered. I had been dabbling in cryptocurrency and blockchain technology for a while now, but my understanding was more surface level. What if I could create something that verified trustworthiness? Something that would ensure that personal betrayal could never have the upper hand again. With this new determination, I turned my pain into a project. I started researching blockchain technology more intensely, digging into how it allowed for transparency and traceability. I wanted to create a platform where users could verify the integrity of their partners, whether in business, friendship, or love. I envisioned a world where trust could be quantified and monitored. The weeks that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and caffeinated days. I threw myself into coding, diving deeper into the mechanics of blockchain. I started sketching out the architecture of my application on napkins and sticky notes, mapping out how it would work and how to make it user-friendly. I wanted it to be available for everyone, something that could prevent the kind of heartache I was experiencing. But amid this whirlwind of creativity and anger, I still had to deal with Amanda. I avoided her for a few days, letting the initial shock settle. I needed clarity and distance from her manipulative games. When I finally agreed to meet, it was clear she was still in damage control mode. "Jake," she said, her tone a mix of pleading and defensive. "I'm sorry for what happened, but you have to understand. You were always so busy. Eric was just someone who listened to me." Her words felt like nails on a chalkboard, but I kept my composure. "Amanda, that's not the point. You cheated. You betrayed me with someone I trusted. We can't just gloss over that." She tried to soften my resolve with tears, but I felt nothing. I had already grieved the loss of my trust. "I'm not going to forgive you this easily," I said, and I meant it. As I focused on my project, I felt a mix of empowerment and pain. I wanted to expose the fragility of trust in relationships and how easily it could be shattered. The urgency of what I was building pushed me to dig deeper into the theoretical aspects of blockchain and its implementation. I found a small group of developers online who shared my vision, and I began collaborating with them. Through conversations on forums and video calls, I learned about consensus algorithms and smart contracts. The idea was to create a digital ledger where every interaction could be recorded. Users could opt into a trust verification system, where their actions and commitments would be logged transparently, accessible to their partners but secure from outside tampering. With each passing day, I felt more invigorated. I was channeling my anger into something productive. The idea of creating a platform that could help others avoid the same betrayal I faced was exhilarating. It was like an alchemical transformation, turning my anguish into something valuable. However, the emotional fallout wasn't entirely behind me. I still had to confront my feelings about Amanda. As I pored over code during the day, the nights were often punctuated by memories of our time together, whispers of what could have been. I replayed the moments of intimacy, the laughter, and the connection we had shared, only to be haunted by the reality of her actions. There were times I felt like reaching out, questioning if we could salvage anything. But whenever I allowed myself to think of reconciliation, the memories of her betrayal came rushing back, forcing me to focus on the path I had chosen. The pain had become my motivation. As the weeks turned into months, my project began to take shape. We named it Trust Chain. It wasn't just a product, it was a movement. I wanted to revolutionize how people perceived trust in relationships, breaking down the barriers created by deception. Looking back, I realized it was not just about vengeance. It was about making sense of my experience and ensuring that others wouldn't have to go through what I did. The pain of betrayal can either paralyze you or push you toward growth. For me, it had become the driving force behind a new chapter in my life. But as I immersed myself in Trust Chain, I couldn't shake the feeling that Amanda would try to reach out again. There was an unsettling anticipation in the air, one that whispered that she might not be ready to let go of what we had. I braced myself for whatever was to come next. As the days turned into weeks, Trust Chain began to take on a life of its own. My team and I were making significant strides in the development of the platform. We met regularly, bouncing ideas off each other, refining our vision, and coding late into the night. It felt invigorating to be part of something bigger than myself, something that could potentially change the landscape of relationships and trust. However, amid all this progress, a nagging anticipation loomed over me. I knew Amanda wouldn't stay quiet forever. She was like a storm, unpredictable and relentless. There was no doubt she would try to weave her way back into my life, and the thought made my stomach churn. Then one evening I received a text from her that sent my heart racing. It was a simple message. "Can we talk? I need to explain." Just like that, my carefully constructed world was rocked once again. My phone buzzed again with another message. "Please, Jake, it's important." Part of me wanted to ignore her, to continue focusing on my work, but I felt a strange compulsion to hear her out. Maybe part of me hoped that she would admit to her mistakes, show remorse for what she had done. I cautiously agreed to meet her at a cafe we used to frequent, a place heavy with memories. When I arrived, she was already seated at a corner table, fidgeting with her phone. I could see the anxiety etched on her face. As I approached, she looked up, and for a moment I saw a flicker of the woman I once loved. But it quickly vanished, replaced by the guarded expression of someone trying to navigate a minefield. "Jake," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I've thought a lot about everything that happened. I realize now how badly I hurt you. I'm so sorry for what I did." I didn't respond immediately, letting the silence hang between us. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions. "You didn't just hurt me, Amanda. You shattered my trust. You did this with someone I considered a friend," I replied, my voice steady but laced with anger. Her eyes glistened with tears, and she leaned forward, her hands clasped together. "Please, just let me explain. Eric and I were never serious. It was a mistake, one that I deeply regret. I was feeling lost, and when you were so busy, it felt like I was on my own. I thought I could find comfort in someone else." I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. "So cheating is your answer to feeling lonely? You should have talked to me. We could have worked through it if you'd just been honest." She nodded, her face a mask of regret. "I know I was selfish. I just didn't think it would escalate the way it did. I tried to convince myself it was harmless, but it was. I was wrong." I studied her, searching for any hint of sincerity. Part of me wanted to believe that she had changed, that this moment of vulnerability was genuine, but another part of me screamed to remember the betrayal. "You need to understand that trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. I've been working on Trust Chain to help people avoid this kind of pain," I said, my voice sharper than intended. Her brows furrowed in confusion. "Trust Chain, what's that?" I explained my project, outlining how it aimed to provide a transparent system for verifying trustworthiness in relationships. As I spoke, I could see her processing the information, a mix of curiosity and apprehension on her face. "That sounds ambitious. Are you serious about it?" "More than ever," I replied, feeling a sense of pride swell within me. "I want to create a system where people can feel secure in their relationships, where betrayal doesn't leave its mark." Her eyes widened as she realized the significance of what I was building. "You're turning this into something bigger than yourself, aren't you?" "Yes," I said firmly. "It's not just about me anymore. It's about everyone who has been hurt, who has suffered because of someone else's lies." Amanda sighed, her shoulders slumping as if the weight of our conversation was pressing down on her. "I can see how passionate you are about this. It's inspiring, really. But I also realize I might not have a place in your life anymore." Her words hung in the air, and I felt a pang of sadness for the future we once envisioned. You're right, Amanda. You've put a wedge between us that's hard to bridge. I can't simply forget what you did. She looked down, visibly upset. I understand. I don't expect forgiveness overnight, but I wanted you to know how I feel. The conversation ended on a bittersweet note. We parted ways, and as I drove home, I felt a mixture of relief and emptiness. The confrontation had given me clarity, but it also reminded me of the pain that lingered. Despite my focus on trust chain, I realized the emotional scars from Amanda's betrayal were not simply going to fade away. I had been forging something new, something that could protect not only myself but potentially others as well. I needed to stay true to my mission and not allow feelings of nostalgia or guilt to cloud my judgment. As the sun set on that day, I reflected on how far I had come since discovering Amanda's betrayal. I had transformed my pain into purpose, channeling it into my work. I was reclaiming my narrative, but the journey was far from over. I knew there would be challenges ahead, and the emotional impact of the betrayal would continue to echo in my life. Still, I held on to the belief that I could rise above it, and Trust Chain would become a beacon of hope and a testament to resilience in the face of personal betrayal. The weeks following my emotional meeting with Amanda were a whirlwind of determination and introspection. I dove into Trust Chain with renewed vigor, working tirelessly with my team to refine the platform. Each line of code I wrote felt like a step away from the pain of betrayal and a leap toward a brighter future. I was fueled not just by my vision, but by a deep desire for justice, for myself, and anyone else who had been wronged in relationships. As we progressed, I found myself gaining traction in the tech community. Word of Trust Chain began to spread, and people started reaching out, eager to learn more about the project. I even received invitations to speak at local tech meetups, where I shared the concept of using blockchain to create a system of trust verification. It felt exhilarating. The pain from my past fueled my passion, and I could see others resonate with my message. But even amidst this success, Amanda's shadow lingered. I thought I had moved on, but memories of our good times together crept in when I least expected them. I'd be coding late at night, and suddenly I'd find myself reminiscing about our anniversary dinners or the spontaneous trips we took. The nostalgia was a double-edged sword, and it cut deep. One evening, as I was working late at my desk, I received a message from Amanda. It was a simple text: "Can we talk again?" My heart raced. Part of me wanted to ignore her, to push her out of my life entirely, but a deeper part of me felt a strange gravity pulling me in. After some internal debate, I reluctantly agreed to meet her again, this time at a park near our old neighborhood. It felt like revisiting a graveyard of memories, but I was curious about what she had to say. When I arrived, she was seated on a bench looking pensive. "Hey," she greeted me, her tone quieter than before. "Thanks for coming." I nodded, bracing myself for whatever was about to unfold. "What's on your mind?" "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said, her eyes searching mine for understanding. "About us, about everything. I regret hurting you. It's been hard for me to cope with my actions. I just wanted to let you know I'm truly sorry." Her expression was earnest, but I felt a knot in my stomach. "Amanda, I appreciate that you're trying to take responsibility, but I'm not sure what you expect from me. You can't just erase what you did. I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to show you I've changed. I've been seeing a therapist to work through my issues, to understand why I made those choices. I want to be better, not just for myself, but for the people I care about," she explained, her voice trembling slightly. I felt a mix of skepticism and curiosity. "So, you're saying you're trying to become a better person, after everything?" "Exactly," she said, determination edging her voice. "I was selfish, and I know I hurt you deeply, but I've learned a lot about myself in these past months. I want to be someone who can build trust, not destroy it." Hearing her talk about self-improvement was jarring. I wanted to believe in her sincerity, but every fiber of my being warned me against it. "And what does that mean for us? You can't expect me to just forget." "I don't want to force anything," she said quickly. "I just wanted you to know I'm committed to my growth. I hope that one day we can find a way to heal together, if not as partners, maybe as friends." The idea of friendship felt foreign and almost impossible. I don't know if I can do that, Amanda. You've left a scar on my heart. I understand. It'll take time. I just wanted to show you how serious I am about changing. I admire what you're doing with Trust Chain. It's incredible, she said, her voice softening. I want to support you in it, to be part of something positive, even if it's just from a distance. There was a sincerity in her voice that caught me off guard. Part of me felt a flicker of hope, a desire to see her redeemed, but I quickly pushed it down. I appreciate that, but right now I need to focus on what I'm building. Trust Chain is my priority. I can't afford to get distracted. She nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of sadness and understanding. I get it. I won't push you. I just wanted you to know I'm here if you ever want to talk. I'm rooting for you. As she stood to leave, I felt a swirl of emotions. Seeing her again stirred up memories, both painful and warm. I felt a sense of finality in our conversation, like we were closing a book on what had been a tumultuous chapter of my life. After she walked away, I returned home, my heart and mind in conflict. On the one hand, I was focused on Trust Chain and the potential impact it could have on the lives of others. On the other, Amanda's words echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of the love we once had. The following weeks were filled with excitement as I prepared for our first major public demonstration of Trust Chain. The tech community had shown significant interest, and we had secured a venue for a launch event. We expected a crowd of investors, potential users, and industry enthusiasts eager to see how Trust Chain could change the way people approach trust. On the day of the event, I felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. I spent hours rehearsing my presentation, making sure I could articulate the vision and mission behind Trust Chain effectively. As the attendees filed in, I felt a wave of energy pulsing through the room. This was it, the moment where everything I'd poured my heart into would be put on display. As I stepped onto the stage, the audience fell silent. I took a deep breath and began to share my journey, my motivations, and the simple yet powerful idea behind Trust Chain. I talked about the importance of trust in relationships and how easily it could be breached, using my own experience as a cautionary tale. The audience listened intently, nodding along, and I could feel the connection forming between us. As I wrapped up my presentation, the applause echoed in my ears. It felt like a triumphant victory, a moment where all the pain and betrayal had birthed something meaningful. I was no longer the man who had been betrayed. I was now someone who had taken that hurt and turned it into a beacon of hope. The event concluded with a Q&A session, and I was inundated with questions. People were genuinely intrigued by the concept, eager to learn more about how they could use Trust Chain in their lives. I felt a sense of validation wash over me, the realization that I was on the right path. Then out of the corner of my eye, I spotted Amanda entering the venue. My stomach dropped as I watched her approach, her expression unreadable. I had hoped to keep our encounters to a minimum, but there she was, right in the thick of my triumph. As she reached me, I noticed a nervous smile on her face. I just wanted to congratulate you, Jake. This is incredible. You should be proud of what you've built. I managed a polite smile, but inside I felt a storm brewing. Thank you, Amanda. But I really don't have time to discuss anything right now. I get it. I won't take up much of your time, she said quickly. I just wanted to see you succeed. I truly mean that. Seeing her there amidst my success stirred a complicated mix of emotions. I was proud of what I had achieved, but I couldn't shake off the feelings of betrayal that still lingered. Thanks for coming, but I think it's best if we keep our distance, I said, my voice firm. She nodded, visibly disappointed. I understand. I'll leave you to it. As she walked away, I felt a strange sense of closure. Trust Chain was not just a project. It was a representation of my journey from betrayal to empowerment. I was taking control of my narrative, and no amount of past pain could take that away from me. With new resolve, I turned back to the crowd, ready to embrace the future and all the possibilities that lay ahead. The shadows of my past would always be there, but I was no longer defined by them. I was Jake, the creator of Trust Chain, and I was ready to change the world, one relationship at a time. The launch event for Trust Chain marked a pivotal moment in my life, one that I had been working toward relentlessly for months. The buzz of anticipation and excitement in the air was palpable. As the attendees began to mingle after my presentation, I felt a mix of adrenaline and anxiety. I was standing on the precipice of something special, and the energy in the room propelled me forward. I spent the next hour discussing my vision with potential investors and users who were genuinely interested in what Trust Chain could offer. Each conversation made me more confident in the project. I could see the potential of what I had built, a platform that could help prevent the kind of betrayal I had faced. The more I articulated my vision, the more alive I felt, as if each word was a step toward healing. But amidst the excitement, Amanda lingered in the back of my mind. I tried to push thoughts of her aside, focusing instead on the future. I engaged with potential investors, answered questions, and shared my passion for creating a more transparent and trustworthy world. The interest was overwhelming, and it felt like I was finally emerging from the shadow of my past. Then, just as I was wrapping up a conversation with a particularly interested investor, I turned to find Amanda standing nearby, her gaze fixed on me. I felt that familiar twist in my stomach, a mix of irritation and unresolved feelings. Despite the success of the event, her presence was a reminder of the painful history I was trying to move past. "Hey Jake," she said, her voice softer than I remembered. "Can I talk to you for a minute, alone?" I hesitated, weighing my options. Part of me wanted to say no to brush her off and focus on the people who were genuinely excited about Trust Chain, but another part of me felt compelled to hear her out. "Sure," I finally replied, not wanting to make a scene. I led her to a quieter corner of the venue where the noise of the crowd faded into the background. "I just wanted to say how proud I am of you," she began, her eyes sincere. "You've really taken a leap, and it's inspiring to see. I know I don't deserve to say this, but seeing you thrive makes me feel hopeful." Crossed my arms, still guarded. "Thank you, but I'm really not here to discuss us, Amanda. Today is about Trust Chain." She nodded, biting her lip as if searching for the right words. "I understand, but I need to be honest. I've been reflecting a lot on our relationship and what I did. I realize now more than ever how deeply I hurt you, and I'm so sorry for that." Her words felt heavy, but I struggled to process them. "You've said that before. I don't know what you want from me now." "I don't want anything from you. Jake, I'm not asking for your forgiveness or for us to get back together. I just want you to know that I recognize my mistakes and I'm trying to learn from them. I want to be better, even if it's just for myself," she said, her voice earnest. I watched her, still skeptical but intrigued by her vulnerability. "And how exactly do you plan to be better?" "I'm committed to my therapy," she said, her voice steady. "I want to understand why I made the choices I did, how to communicate better, how to build trust instead of tearing it down. I want to help others who might be struggling with similar issues." Her words resonated with me, but I couldn't shake the hurt. "You had an opportunity to communicate with me, Amanda. You chose to cheat instead." "I know, and that was my failure," she replied, her eyes pleading for understanding. "I can't change what happened, but I can change who I am moving forward." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of our past pressing down on me. "It's hard for me to see you as someone who's changed. Trust doesn't come easily after betrayal." "I get that," she said softly. "But I hope one day you'll see my growth as genuine. I truly want to help others avoid the mistakes I made." Before I could respond, a group of attendees approached, eager to chat about Trust Chain, breaking the tension between us. I felt relief wash over me as I turned to engage with them, leaving Amanda standing there, a faint smile on her face, perhaps believing that there was still a chance for redemption. As the event wound down and attendees filtered out, I found a moment to breathe. I had poured my heart into launching Trust Chain, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. We had established a foundation that could help countless individuals navigate the complexities of trust in their relationships. But even amidst my triumph, Amanda's presence lingered in my mind. I managed to shake off the doubts and focus on the future. My phone buzzed with notifications from interested investors, requests for follow-up meetings, and offers for collaboration. It felt like everything I had worked for was finally falling into place. The next few weeks were filled with excitement and hustle. Trust Chain gained momentum. and we began to attract attention from tech blogs and industry influencers. The idea of using blockchain technology to verify trustworthiness took off, and I found myself in demand, speaking at conferences and engaging with communities eager to learn about what we were creating. But even as my professional life flourished, my personal life continued to feel tumultuous. Amanda reached out occasionally, sending supportive messages about Trust Chain, often expressing her admiration for what I was doing. I recognized her efforts to connect, but I remained resolute in my decision to keep my distance. One evening, as I sat down to review our user feedback and strategize our next steps, I received an unexpected call. It was Eric, the man Amanda had cheated with my former friend. My heart raced as I hesitated, unsure whether to answer. Against my better judgment, I picked up. "What do you want, Eric?" "Jake, I know this is awkward, but I wanted to reach out. I've been following Trust Chain and I think what you're doing is amazing," he said, his tone surprisingly respectful. "Thanks, but I'm not interested in your opinions," I replied, feeling the anger bubble up. "Fair enough," he said, pushing back a bit. "But I'm not calling to argue. I wanted to apologize for what happened between Amanda and me. It was a stupid mistake and I never intended to hurt you." His words caught me off guard. "You think an apology fixes anything? You both betrayed my trust." "I know, but I want you to understand that I regret it. Amanda and I didn't have anything real. It was a fleeting moment of weakness," he explained. I felt a mix of emotions swirling within me. "I don't care about your regrets. You both hurt me and there's no taking that back. I understand and I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say that I hope Trust Chain can help others avoid the mistakes we made," he said, his voice sincere. "And you think that's enough to make amends?" I shot back. "No, not at all. I just thought you should know that I'm rooting for you. I realized I messed up and I wanted to take responsibility," he said. I took a breath, processing his words. "I don't need your support. Just stay out of my life, Eric. I'm focused on moving forward." "Understood. I genuinely wish you the best," he replied before hanging up. As I put my phone down, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. I didn't need Eric's validation or Amanda's attempts at redemption. I was carving my own path. Trust Chain was my lifeline, my way of reclaiming my narrative and empowering others to build trust rather than destroy it. While the wounds of betrayal would take time to heal, I was determined to rise above it all. The journey ahead was still fraught with challenges, but I was ready to face them head-on. Trust Chain was more than just a project. It was a testament to resilience in the face of betrayal. I was no longer just a victim. I was a creator, and I was ready to change the world. As Trust Chain gained traction, I found myself immersed in a whirlwind of activity. The platform was beginning to change lives, and feedback from early adopters flooded in, echoing my hope that it could help others navigate the complexities of trust in relationships. I received messages from users sharing stories of how Trust Chain provided them with the reassurance they needed to move forward in their lives. Some even credited it with saving their relationships. It felt surreal to hear that something I had built from the ashes of my own betrayal was helping others rebuild their trust. Yet, despite my success, the emotional remnants of my past still lingered. I had managed to carve out a new identity for myself, but there were moments when the shadows of Amanda and Eric crept in, reminding me of the pain I had endured. I became adept at compartmentalizing my emotions, but there were nights I lay awake, wrestling with feelings of anger, sadness, and confusion. But I also learned to channel these emotions into my work. I became a champion for transparency, hosting workshops and speaking at events about the significance of trust in personal and professional relationships. I encouraged others to embrace honesty and communication, sharing my story as a cautionary tale of what can happen when those values are compromised. One evening, as I prepared for a significant conference presentation, I received an unexpected phone call. It was Amanda. My heart sank, but I answered, curiosity overpowering my instinct to decline. "Jake, I know this is a strange time to call, but I wanted to reach out. I've been following Trust Chain's progress and I'm genuinely happy for you," she said, her tone sincere. "Thank you, but I'm not really interested in discussing anything personal. I replied, my voice steady but guarded. I understand. I just wanted to say that I've been doing a lot of reflecting and I recognize how deeply I hurt you, she continued. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm working hard to change, to become a better person. Her words felt heavy, laden with the weight of our shared history. I appreciate your honesty, but I'm focused on my work and moving forward. I can't afford to get caught up in the past. I respect that, Jake. I truly do. I just wanted to let you know that I'm rooting for you and hoping for your continued success, she said softly. Thank you, I replied, a bit surprised by the lack of defensiveness in her tone. I hope you find what you're looking for too. We exchanged a few more pleasantries before ending the call, and I felt a strange sense of relief. It was as if a chapter had closed, not just for her, but for me as well. Her acknowledgement of her mistakes provided a sense of closure I didn't know I needed. It reminded me that healing is not linear, and that sometimes it's okay to let go of the anger that binds us. The conference was a resounding success. I presented Trust Chain to a captivated audience, sharing not just the technical aspects of the platform, but also the deeply personal journey that had led me there. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose as I engaged with attendees eager to learn more. As I left the stage, the applause ringing in my ears, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I was no longer defined by my past, but rather empowered by it. I was building something that could provide others with the tools to foster trust and communication, allowing them to avoid the pitfalls I had faced. In the months that followed, Trust Chain continued to evolve. We secured partnerships with organizations focused on relationship counseling, and our user base grew exponentially. Each new registration felt like a small victory, a testament to the power of resilience and the human spirit's capacity to heal. As I reflected on the journey, I realized that navigating betrayal had taught me invaluable lessons about trust, honesty, and the importance of open communication. I had transformed my pain into purpose, and in doing so, I had not only healed but had also helped others find their way. Looking back, I understood that while the scars of betrayal would always be a part of me, they no longer defined who I was. Trust Chain was my legacy, a symbol of not just my journey but the journeys of countless others seeking to build and maintain trust in their relationships. As I prepared for another speaking engagement, I felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. I was ready to share my story and the lessons I had learned with others. I had come a long way from the heartbroken husband who had been blindsided by betrayal. I was now a creator, an advocate, and a beacon of hope for anyone who had suffered in silence. In the end, the betrayal had not been the end of my story, but rather the beginning of a new chapter. I had learned that trust is fragile, but it can also be rebuilt stronger than before. And with that knowledge, I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that I had the tools to navigate the complexities of relationships with resilience and grace.